That was a little bit of an excerpt, the first phrase from a three-part round that's often played at Christmas time, Dona Nobis Pacem. And that Latin phrase actually means to play a three-part round. And so as the piece develops, other voices come in. This is great to try on the ukulele, and this is a piece that is featured at Ukulele Corner in the Ukulele Corner Academy, and also in my book of 30 Christmas songs for fingerstyle ukulele. So let's dive in and check out a little bit of the piece, and we're going to play in the key of G here. A lot of this is in first position. Every now and then we're going to sneak up to the 7th fret, and we're playing a lot of our G scale. So it's good to know your G scale on the high string. If I start from the note A, then 2nd fret, B, C, D, and then we get up to an E. That's the highest note we need in the song. But then also home base, that note G, is on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. So if I really play that much of the scale and associate that with a G chord, you really hear a nice strong sound. Also we have an F sharp, the leading tone, 2nd fret on the 2nd string, 2nd string open, E, F sharp, and G. This gives you a nice first position scale. I'm using a low G tuning here. And so I play on the low string, 0, then my first finger in 2nd position, 2nd fret, then 3rd finger on the 4th, then 5th, then a D and E on the 3rd string, 2nd and 4th fret, and then what we played earlier, that F sharp to G. I could use my pinky to play the A on the 5th fret of the 2nd string, then B, C, and D. Now you have a nice, really rich sounding octave and a half, basically, scale going up to that note C in the piece. We're going to use that range of notes. We're going to color it with G, D7, C chords. Nothing too advanced with harmony. It's mainly just the 1 chord G, the 4 chord C, the 5 chord D7. But there's some really interesting challenges that come up from putting the parts together. So I basically, in the arrangement, with the first theme, the simple line of the melody is then there's this high scale. It's in 3, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, 1, and 2, 3, 1. But I color that with some harmony underneath so it works well as a solo piece. I basically add some bass notes of a G, then a D, back to G, then a D7, but it's like a suspended chord in measure 3. Then we go up to C, I add in a C and an E to fill out this chord. And then I get back to the G. So when you put that together, I'm using my thumb, index, middle, and ring fingers to play across the strings. My thumb's going to move around mainly between the 4th and the 3rd string. I'm going to alternate index and middle when I do scales. Otherwise, I'm mixing up across strings, thumb, index, middle, and ring. Thumb, move to the 3rd string there, back to the 4th string, back to the 3rd string here, thumb, index, and middle, play that chord, and I roll it. Then I alternate middle, index, middle, index. Then I play 4-note chord rolling in measure 6. Then D7, grab another chord here, there's that sus again. Then G, then I add a little bass line here. It's really nice to add the 4th fret B, especially with a low G tuning, to the G chords, 0, 2, and 3. Now let's look at what happens. I'll play through the rest of the piece, and then you'll hear where the variations come in. The second part, there's really the 2 voices, and you hear more of a moving bass line. And these are really nice, clean 8-bar phrases, really easy to follow. And in the music, you'll see there's a double bar line to distinguish where the separation of parts are. So here's the second phrase. There's this descending melody line that comes down. I'll play that again. Each of these phrases, you can play it again and again. They're good fun. little vibrato in that last note. And so we have this high sustained melody, measure 9 and 10, then it moves its way down. Then that high E, D, then a scale, walking right down to G. So really clean bass and melody separation there. A couple of 3-note chords that I added in, and a 1 4-note chord in the arrangement, just to fill in the harmony around. But that's mainly the concept is the two parts, the high melody and the bass line. Now measure 17, there's a new theme. You can really hear the two parts. Just dancing around. So really challenging fingerstyle with fingerstyle technique. And one thing I try to write in clearly with the arrangements is left-hand fingerings. Those can really make or break how the flow of the piece goes. So measure 17, I'm starting with my second finger. Then I add another notes. With the third finger in the first, then I pivot with my second finger down to the D chord. And then back up. So I'm pivoting on the third string between the F sharp and the G. I call it a guide finger. It stays on the same string. It guides you between the different fingerings. And then here I do a bar. And you go from your first to your second finger, then pinky. So you're doing a bar at the second fret. Sometimes I only cover 3 strings when needed, and then shift to the 4 strings. Or you can just cover 4 from the start there. Then pinky to third finger in measure 21, and you get that E, then a G chord. Now here, this is interesting. We're doing a third finger here, then you shift your first finger, and then move your first finger again to the D. And then this nice D arpeggio up to the pinky, first finger shifts down, and then that same G chord we did with the B added. So each one of the sections of the piece becomes like an exercise, and it's really fun. You can just look at each of them as a study in different technique. The next phrase comes in at measure 25. Now here we have a really interesting D7 chord, 7, 6, 5, 3. We're trying to put the 3 parts together now, so there's more density going on and full chords and motion between the parts. Here we have thirds, 7 and 5, moving down to 5 and 3, 3 and 2, then a G chord to a D7. Then we do our same C run we did before. Now a little bit more bass motion though. Thirds. So you can practice doing a harmonized G scale with thirds on the high string and the second string. I use my third finger and first finger when there's a fret in between, and second finger and first finger when there isn't. So your first finger then is like the guide finger carrying you up and down the high string. So you can practice that technique in this section. Leading into the last section, it starts the same. Here's that D sus to D7, same scale. Then the thirds. So the last 2 sections are very similar there, but you can really work on getting nice clarity. Good sustain is a challenge of this. When you have 2 parts at the same time, you want to leave fingers down so that the melody was really ringing. I wasn't releasing right as soon as I play the other notes. I leave the finger down. I'm trying to play the notes in the high string with more weight into the string and the softer underneath. I can play really loud and then really light underneath. I'm exaggerating to almost whisper the accompaniment. You can play around with that, the balance between the parts, and see what appeals to you. So have fun with this and the other songs in the 30 songs for fingerstyle ukulele, 30 Christmas songs for fingerstyle ukulele. I hope you enjoy learning this arrangement of Dona Nobis Pacem, and I look forward to seeing you at Ukulele Corner. Subscribe to our channel, and I look forward to seeing you soon with more music.